Hi and welcome to Food for Thought with my guest Dr Phil Carson, who's a doctor of pharmacy, but since earning his doctorate in pharmacy, he's qualified in numerous natural and alternative therapies for weight loss, fibromyalgia, attention deficit disorder. He's the founder of Carson Natural Health in 2005, and since then he's been the co-founder of the Life Transformation Medical Centre, and he's the voice behind the Feeling Good podcast. Hello Phil, how are you today?
I am very well, Debbie. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be on your show today. I really appreciate it.
It's absolutely my pleasure. I heard your podcasts and I love the fact that you talk about your dogwood outside of your window, the beautiful tree that you talk about. Now,
oh, yeah.
So what led you to move from your career in pharmacy to actually into natural medicine? What led to that crossover in your interest?
Well, I tell people when I went through pharmacy school back in the 80s, I was taught the history of natural medicine, not the application of it. And after a few years of being out in the real world practicing pharmacy, I had people coming into my store asking me questions about herbal products, about supplements, and I couldn't answer them. I didn't know what to tell them. I didn't like that. I didn't like not knowing and not knowing what to say or how to help someone. So I said, I've got to learn. So I set out on a course to learn everything I could about natural medicine. I started taking courses. I started traveling all over the United States, going to seminars and courses being taught by practitioners that were practicing natural medicine. And started learning these things, and I started applying what I was learning. And as I applied these things, it was things that I applied, that I learned, the knowledge I applied to my own health. I was suffering myself. I had been in a very stressful pharmacy job situation, and it just tremendous amount of stress, and I was suffering from that. I was having chronic reflux, terrible reflux. Most nights I slept in a recliner because I couldn't lay down flat in the bed without horrible reflux problems. So I learned through my studies what was going on, why I was having such a problem, and what I could do about it naturally. I applied that to myself, and I started telling other people about it, and it came into the pharmacy, and I was able to start answering people's questions and making recommendations to them, and to see the changes that were taking place in my own health, to see changes taking place in my patient's health, that just fueled the fire for me to want to learn more. So that learning process is still going on. I'm still learning new things. I'm still going to seminars. I'm still trying to learn all I can about natural health. Matter of fact, I just came back a couple of weeks ago from a conference on ADD and ADHD, the natural therapies and alternatives for ADD, ADHD, and autism. So I'm constantly learning, and I love it, and I love being able to share that knowledge with people and see them get better. Or see their lives transform, their health improve. So that's how it all happened.
It's fascinating. I'm interested to know what some of the therapies and approaches that you're using in your practice are.
As far as some of the therapies, I use different things. Yeah. As far as supplements, I use quite a bit of supplements, because a lot of people come to me and they say, "Hey, I don't really want to take this medication. I don't like the idea of the side effects that go along with it." Or maybe they've already been taking the medication and they're experiencing those side effects. And they're saying, "Hey, can I take, is there something else I can do? I don't like what this medication is doing to me." So I get, the opportunity to make recommendations to them as far as supplements, but also talk to people about lifestyle changes. That's if you want to say what therapies am I using, that would probably be number one, is lifestyle change. Because a lot of people come to me with chronic illnesses that's their main problem, is their lifestyle. They need to make some positive some good, healthy lifestyle changes. So I always talk about that. That's number one as far as part of the natural therapy that I do with people is helping facilitate lifestyle change. And the supplements are secondary to that. As far as when I sit down with someone and we work one-on-one in a coaching situation, we're gonna start with lifestyle. And then I do lab testing. There's quite a bit of testing and things that I do as well. As far as saliva testing is one of them. We do testing for adrenal health. We use saliva testing for that. Hormone balance. We do the saliva testing for that as well, because I feel like we get more accurate results as to actually what's going on a cellular level in the body with the saliva testing. So that's just a few of the things that I do.
It's really interesting. I think it's interesting that you're using lifestyle change first. Why aren't our doctors? Why isn't our medical profession attending to that first before moving people up the hierarchy into medications? Why are they just ignoring the fact that lifestyle is one of the drivers of chronic disease?
Yeah, I'll tell you where I am in the world. And it may be the same, in your location there in Ireland as well. But here, the medical practice model has dramatically changed over the past 50 years or so here. And I was talking with someone about that the other day. But what's going on in the world today is that in the practice of medicine, there's quotas that have to be met. Mm-hmm. There's very few doctors that are practicing in a private practice anymore. They're in big groups, or they're hospital-owned groups, or they're big medical conglomerates that own these practices, and they're driven. They're driven to see so many patients a day. They've got a certain amount of time that they can spend with them, and they got to push another one through. And of course, the insurance companies are dictating, a lot of the care and what they can do and what they can't do. So there's not enough doctors in private practice anymore to do the type of practice, the practice type of medicine that was practiced 50 years ago. And that's what I see. And that's why they're not talking to them about lifestyle change, is because they don't have the time to do it. Mm-hmm. They're pushed for time, and so they spend very little time with them. I had somebody tell me the other day that they had taken a friend of theirs to the doctor for some type of health issue that was going on. They said the doctor never even laid a hand on the patient. Came in, talked to the patient for a few minutes, wrote a prescription, and left. Did nothing. No physical examination, nothing. Just said a few words, asked a few questions, wrote a prescription, and left. And that's what's happening a lot of times. But that's what that it's come to, and it's sad to see that. So that's why a lot of people seek me out, because I sit down and talk with them. I take time with them. I try to help them get to the root cause of what their health issue is, and that's called in the United States, that's called functional medicine. And there's more doctors, and that's the way medicine used to be practiced years ago. But there are more doctors that are beginning to break out of the mold. And the doctor that I just recently founded the Life Transformation Medical Center with is one of those doctors. She finally decided, hey, I'm fed up with this. I'm breaking out of this mold. I want to practice medicine the way I'm supposed to practice it.
That's actually a big decision for her, though, isn't it? Is that, for someone like myself, who is a naturopathic nutritionist, moving into functional medicine and having a clinic like that is kind of the norm. But ultimately, for a doctor to make that decision can have big ramifications, can't it? Oh, yes, absolutely. And I know several years ago when I began to make the shift into natural medicine and natural therapies, and begin to talk to patients about those things and make recommendations and suggestions to them, I had several doctors that would
call me up and cuss me out, tell me not to talk to their patients anymore about that kind of stuff. It was, I got a lot of pushback on that. And that's one of the reasons why this doctor that I'm working with left, because she was getting pushback in the practice that she was in, because she was talking to patients about natural products. She's a big believer in it, even though she's an MD. She's traditionally trained as an MD. She believes in natural products and natural therapies, and so I had been telling her for years, because we've had a good working relationship with me in pharmacy, her in the medical field as a doctor, referring patients back and forth to each other for natural things. And so I've been telling her, look, you need to get out on your own. You'll have all the business you can handle. You have all the patients you can handle. And she finally made that decision. I was happy about that. So,
really interesting. Now, your strapline for your podcast is, are you ready to live? Really live that feeling good life you desire to live. How have so many people lost sight of what it means to live well and in a healthy state in both of our societies?
Oh yeah. It is. It's a problem, and stuff like diabetes. Also heart disease, obesity, epidemic proportions. And where I live here in North Mississippi, we're North Mississippi in the United States is usually the bottom of every list as far as the states, especially in economics. But we are number one in one thing, unfortunately, and that's diabetes and obesity. And there's numerous reasons for that, but one of the things is that lifestyle that we talked about. People's lifestyle is the way they live, the way they eat, and people have neglected care of their bodies, and they things that they're bombarded with. It could be stress. It could be the culture that they're brought up in. There's a whole number of things that contribute to that, and people get caught up in things, and they just neglect what's most important, and that's their health. And a lot of it is that it's just neglect for various reasons. And
I know you just mentioned that there's an economic link with health and the diabetes and obesity.
Yeah.
I know what our government is doing, but what is your government doing to help address that? Because that link has been there for decades upon decades, and the trajectory has only increased. It's not reduced. And yet it's absolutely clear that the further into poverty that people fall, the worse their health becomes. And in our country, in the UK, I see more children falling into poverty, more children falling into obesity, into actual food poverty and fuel poverty as well, which means that ultimately we're damaging the long-term performance of our society, surely.
Yeah. Well, I think it begins with what we call early childhood education here, and that's something that is a big push in the educational system here. Is early childhood education, beginning to get that child at a young age and begin to teach them things. Well, that's something that's not being taught. Is the health side of things. They're teaching them reading, writing, arithmetic, all those things, but as far as health and the importance of health. And taking care of and eating right and learning to eat natural foods, that's not being taught. And food is provided for the poor. Plenty of food is provided, but it's not the right kind of food. It's packaged food. It's processed food. All these things that are provided for them. I would love to see more hands-on type teaching out there, and taking these young kids and taking them to a garden and teaching them how to plant food and grow food, and not just the kids but the adults as well, to teach them how, because that's being done in some areas, and it's wonderful. I would like to see it spread across the world, of that teaching that's being done. And I see that, and I'm encouraged by what I see sometimes in the news and in articles where in some of these big cities they'll find these little garden spots and they start growing fresh vegetables and fruit and plants there and teaching kids how to plant and grow. That needs to be done more, in my opinion. And because it's really all about the mindset. It doesn't matter how much money you have. You can still find good food to eat. And you may not be able to eat as much of it or be able to get as much, but it's a mindset I think people have, is I can't afford that. And they think, well, that costs a little bit more than what this costs, so I really can't afford that. So I think working on people's mindset is another thing, and helping change that mindset about what's really affordable, what's really not, and the lifestyle that you're living. How much is it going to cost you down the road? You may say, I can't afford it now. Well, you're really not going to be able to afford it later on with the healthcare cost.
Our culture, though, if you are surrounded by people and an environment that is very much more focused on fast food, junk food, and the people around you are not cooking and things like that, then that's going to have a massive impact, isn't it, in some respects?
Oh, absolutely, and that's that's what most of these kids today that are ended up with obesity and juvenile diabetes and all the health issues that younger people are dealing with. It's because that's what they've grown up in. That's what they've been used to. That's what they see. And they're bombarded all the time with commercials and it's all out there laid out for them. And they're not really taught to make the right choices. Because the choices are there. It's just a matter of them being pushed and taught and encouraged on a continual basis to make those right choices.
Because it's about enabling them to understand, isn't it, that about the benchmark of health in some respects, and how they should feel, not how they are feeling in their body, but actually what their performance could be like, what their health could be like, how they can run down the road, how they shouldn't be breathless, how they shouldn't be overweight, and all these things. So it's almost giving them the vision, isn't it, in some respects, about this is what health looks like. Yeah.
Exactly. And I think probably because they see all the people around them, that are living unhealthy, they think, well, that's just the way it is.
Yeah,
very right. And so changing that mindset, giving them the vision of what it really can be, that's great. I love it. That's what needs to be done.
Yeah, because that all fits in with your mindset, isn't it? Because ultimately, if they can see that, then they will start to want it themselves. But why do you think the value of health has become so low on people's priorities?
Well, I think one of the things is because of what's so-called modern medicine. And I know a lot of people, and I've dealt with this in my practice of pharmacy, and trying to get people to make changes and trying to get people to do things. They have the idea, well, I don't have to worry about that. There's a medicine that'll take care of that. If I happen to get diabetes, there's a drug I can take for it. Yeah. Or if this particular thing, were to happen to me, there's some kind of medical procedure or whatever that can correct it. Modern medicine is kind of made that to shift in people's mind about that, and I know that in dealing with people on a day-to-day basis, I see that and I hear that. Well, I don't have to worry about that. This will take care of that, or it's going to be all right. They feel like there's something that they can do or correct it down the road. And so they don't really think about it and focus on it. But I have began to see a shift in some people. And I think people my age, baby boomer. I'm of the baby boomer age. I'm 55 years old, and people my age have grown up seeing their parents suffer, seeing their grandparents suffer and die early deaths. And there are people my age that are dying every day, people younger than me that are dying of heart disease and dying of complications of diabetes and other problems, cancer. And I see these people, and I think there's beginning to be some type of some sort of a mindset shift with my age group. And thinking that, hey, I don't want to end up like my dad. I don't want to end up like my granddad. I need to do something now. I need to make some changes.
Yeah.
And that a lot of those people are people that are coming to me saying, help me. And then I'm seeing some of the millennial age group beginning to make some better choices as well, because they've seen what's happened to their parents, or they've experienced that early death of a family member, or they've seen family members suffering from cancer or from Alzheimer's or whatever it may be, and they're thinking, hey, maybe I can do something to keep this from happening to me.
Yeah. Absolutely. I see a lot of people where they've had that almost wake-up call and they're coming in to actually then change their lifestyle because they don't want the same thing that's just happened to their brother or another family member.
Yeah.
It becomes a driver for them, and it raises the health value higher up for them at that point.
Right. Exactly. It's sad that it has to come to that, but a lot of times that's what motivates people and pushes them to make those changes.
Yeah. Now, I'm just wondering, how do people in our society? Our lives are very unbalanced nowadays, and ultimately, people when you're working with them on their lifestyle changes, ultimately it's about them having a balanced life. How do you manage to work with them and get them to change things? Where do you start? I suppose what I'm asking is, how do you change things so that they become more balanced? Because ultimately in a society where on the wider level it's not balanced, it can be quite difficult, can't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the first things I talk to them about is that balance, is that they need to balance things out in their lives, all the way around. And balance is hard to, it's hard to accomplish. We got so many things going on in our lives, so many things that are, keeping us out of balance. It's hard to do. And some people may not ever get there, but it's something we should strive for. We should strive for that. We should strive to keep our lives in balance, health-wise. I teach a course basically that the whole concept is around balance, and it's called Fit in 49. And I go through what I call the 7 keys to living happy, healthy, and whole. And in these 7 keys, we cover the body, the soul, and the spirit. And so that's, as far as balance, is having a good, vibrant, healthy overall life. That's what I teach, that all 3 of those components need to be in balance. Everything in the universe has to stay in balance. Our bodies have to be in balance. Specific systems in our body have to stay in a particular balance, or we get sick. And that's what sickness is. I mean, it's something's out of balance somewhere. So we can be totally great physical wise, and we can do everything we can to be in top physical shape, but we can still be very, very sick because we've neglected the spirit and the soul, or the soul in particular, which the mind, the will, the emotions. And that's what I see. A lot of people that are out of balance there. They're out of balance mentally and emotionally because of things maybe that have happened to them in their life that they're hanging on to, they haven't let go of, or that has affected them in some way emotionally. I call it soul sick. A lot of people are soul sick because it's the things, the emotions, and the things going on in their mind that's actually making them physically sick as well.
Which is then driving habitual behaviours, isn't it?
Oh yes, absolutely, it does, and that's a major problem that I've seen throughout my years in the practice of pharmacy, because a lot of the people that end up with these habitual behaviors where they get addicted to prescription drugs, even not, there's so many people addicted to street drugs, but there's a lot more addicted to prescription drugs, and a lot of what they're dealing with is they're trying to cover up some kind of hurt, some kind of pain within their soul, and it creates those habitual behaviors. But I see that, a lot, and have seen that a lot throughout the years. And you try to help those people. You try to help them understand and see what's happening in their lives. But it's tough, really tough.
Well, I thought your bio had a really interesting quote, wasn't it? Which said, "Too many Americans are living as prisoners in their own bodies." And
yeah,
I think that's you're making reference to that now, really, aren't you?
Oh yes, absolutely. That's and that's what's happening. And a friend of mine wrote a book a few years ago called "The Ties That Bind," and it's about people who are have those hurts and pains in their life, and they've had that emotional issues that have made them sick and controlling their lives. They're bound up with that, and he wrote this book to help set people free from those things and help them look inside themselves. And a lot of times it's a forgiveness issue, and I see this with people, and I've experienced it in my own life and in my own family, where people that have been hurt or are holding on to those things. And that unforgiveness, unwillingness to forgive, maybe something that's happened to them or someone that has hurt them. And there was a doctor here in the United States, I can't recall his name right now, but he wrote a book to that effect a few years ago, where he did some research and studies in cancer, and a lot of the cancer cases that he had dealt with tied back to that. That these people had deep emotional hurts and unforgiveness in their heart that they wouldn't let go of. And so there's a definite tie there to our physical health when we carry those emotional hurts and pains and not let go of them.
I think what we've got at the moment is the medical community are kind of catching up with the alternative community with their research, which is actually supporting that actually what you believe affects you at a cellular level.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it's absolutely clear from my perspective, and it's interesting that you bring up about cancer, because this morning I was having a conversation with someone, and they were absolutely, now this wasn't a client, I'll just be clear, but they were absolutely clear that the cancer that their friend had got was because they'd never been able to forgive and release an emotional issue. So I think it was very interesting. But I think people realise this. I think people do realise on one level, but their lifestyles are so busy and there's so much going on in them that they actually, I call it the dashboard of the body. I feel that they ignore the lights coming on the car and they just carry on anyway. Yeah.
You're absolutely right. People just keep pushing, and ignore the warning signs that are there, and then they end up in a crisis situation, and sometimes it's too late.
Why do people ignore those warning signs, do you think? Because I see smokers, and on the cigarettes in the EU it clearly says smoking kills, and they still smoke. Why do people ignore the warning signs from your perspective?
Yeah, I think there are various reasons. I think there too it can be a cultural thing with the culture that people are in, and pressure, what we call peer pressure here, that people are pressured in to doing these things that they know are not right, that know are not good for them, but to fit in society or be like somebody else, or they feel like they need to do it even though they know it's not right. They know it's not good for them. I think that's one of the things, or at least I see that with people here where I live. It's a lot of the societal pressures that they feel like they have to do, and it's sad that's happening, but that's one of the reasons, probably the main reason, I would think.
That's interesting. From my perspective, even the government ignore it, because even the government gives out conflicting messages on so many different levels about health. Now, I just want to talk to you about fibromyalgia, which for me is a really interesting condition, I have to say, when my clients turn up with it. And although I have, when I first started in my practice, I had an approach. What I've realised is that I've had to throw out the approach because, quite frankly, everyone's so different with that condition, incredibly different. Because, you were talking about the 7 keys to having a happy and healthy life. Ultimately, it is about addressing all of those from my perspective with fibromyalgia, and all health conditions, but in particular, you have to get the emotional side right. What's your perspective on that?
Yeah, I agree 100%. And what I have seen over the years with fibromyalgia is the majority of people I've worked with fibromyalgia are women, and a lot of times, in questioning them and getting history and that kind of stuff, we find out that this own set of symptoms that they have that gets classified or labeled as fibromyalgia, I call it it happened when syndrome, or it happened because of syndrome, because we can usually go back to a time and they were fine, and then something happened in their life. Maybe it was a divorce, maybe it was a death in the family. Maybe it was a physical, some type of accident. They had some kind of physical trauma. And then all of these things start cascading and all these symptoms start showing up. And so I see that a lot, and a lot of times that is tied to some type of emotional issue that's creating that. And then I see other things where there may be physical things that's going on in their body, and it just kind of begins to build from there, and one thing after another. What I have in my research, what I've seen with fibromyalgia, other than these emotional type things or these traumatic events that happen in people's lives, it can be everyday stresses of life. People that are under heavy stress for a lengthy period of time. Those are patients that I see ending up labeled as with fibromyalgia a lot of times. Also, we see patients with chronic gut issues that end up getting diagnosed with fibromyalgia. Hormonal imbalance is another thing. And this is real common, especially with the women, is the hormone imbalances. The hormones get all out of balance, and it begins to create one health problem after another because of the imbalance of the hormones. But those things are not being addressed. What's happening here in the United States with fibromyalgia is that they go to the doctor. And I've had many patients tell me over the years, they've come in to see me and said, well, my doctor says it's all in my head, but I know it's not. I'm sick. Here's what's happening with me, but they're telling me it's all in my head. And when fibromyalgia first became known, or first became a condition or a label or whatever, that's what a lot of the patients were being told. because the doctors didn't know. They didn't know what was going on. So they think, well, it's just, mental. But that's definitely not the case, and it's been proven not to be the case in recent years. That these people really are suffering. They're really having some major problems. But getting to the root cause of it is a way to treat it, not with a prescription drug to cover up the pain or to correct the irritable bowel issues that are going on. So that's what I work with on fibromyalgia. I try to help people look back to when did it start, what was going on in your life, what's going on in your life now, why are these things happening, what is the root cause, and a lot of times we find out that it is gut issues. They've got some major gut issues, and is the major contributing factor to a lot of the symptoms. A lot of these fibromyalgia patients have what we call leaky gut syndrome, and that's creating a lot of the pain and discomfort that they're feeling and dealing with. So it's a long list of things that with patients, and I can and like you said, they're different. You can't pinpoint it and say put everybody in a cookie cutter and say, hey, this is what it is, and you've got to dig around and try to find out, get to the root cause, and that's what I like to do. And when we do that, people, a lot of times their eyes open up and they begin to say, yeah, that's what's going on. That's why this is happening to me. And they begin to see, hey, there's something I can do about this. And it's rewarding to see that happen, rewarding to see a fibromyalgia patient that is pretty much debilitated and just barely getting through life and just, doing all they can to function to over a period of a few months or whatever, turn around and just become vibrant again. I love it. Love seeing that happen.
And it's empowering for them as well to understand, because then they have choice about how they want to heal themselves, don't they?
Yeah, they do. They do. Absolutely. And they have to make that choice. And sometimes it's a tough choice because it's going to mean that they've got to change their diet. They've got to take certain supplements. They've got to do a lot of things different. They've got to learn to manage. A lot of times it's learning to manage the stress in their lives. That's creating a lot of the problems that you're dealing with.
I completely agree. And I don't know about you, but a number of those clients that I've seen have had gut issues from childhood. And
yes,
it's been going on a long, long time for them.
Absolutely.
This has been... go on.
I was going to say that one of the things that we talked about in this recent conference that I went to, and is the mitochondrial dysfunction.
Yeah.
You get down on a cellular level with the mitochondria in the cells, and a lot of these patients, fibromyalgia patients, are dealing with what's called mitochondrial dysfunction, and you've got to restore that and help them, get that back and re-energize those cells in their body. And when you do that, wow, that makes a world of difference. But that was a connection that was made with the ADD, ADHD, autistic kids that we were talking about, that was discussed in this conference there as well. It was that mitochondrial dysfunction. So see the same thing with fibromyalgia.
Do you want to just cover that in a little bit more detail in regards to the approach that they were discussing, or the protocols that they were discussing around ADD?
Yes. Well, the first thing was to look at that mitochondrial dysfunction and realize that, hey, this is a contributing factor here, and this can be a major issue in restoring balance to these kids and even adults that have been labeled with one of these labels. But the thing there with these conditions too is the same thing. It can go back to a gut issue, And what I've seen with a lot of the ADD, ADHD kids that I've worked with over the years is it is a gut issue. That's where it all began with chronic ear infections, chronic respiratory infections where they were given multiple antibiotics, steroids as well, and they destroyed the normal flora in the gut. So you end up with gut issues. So that's one of the first things, and that's what we talked about in this conference as well, is to start there. Start with the gut and cleaning up the gut and restoring the good bacteria to the gut and revitalizing the gut tissue. Because if you've got a problem there, you've got a problem with nutrient absorption and nutrient utilization, whether they're getting it from their foods or they're getting it from a supplement that you're giving them to help restore some balance. You've got to have a good functioning gut, and that tissue there's got to be doing what it's supposed to be doing and working like it's supposed to be working for health in general, and not just with ADD, ADHD, but anybody's health. You've got to have that good working gut there. But as far as the protocols, that's the number one thing there, is to work on the gut. And there are several supplements that can be given as well to help restore balance. One of the number ones, and I've always used this, and this was talked about in the conference, is the essential fats. The essential fats that are lacking in so many people's diets, and particularly EFAs and DHA that are found in your fish oils. And very few people eat enough fish that contain these good essential fats. So, that was the probably one of the main things recommended in the protocol was that one particular supplement. If you didn't do any other, get the essential fats in there.
So it's definitely worth people who have got children who have got behavioural disorders in effect going to find a functional medicine practitioner, isn't it?
Oh yeah, and it's it makes all the difference in the world, because I've seen so many of these kids suffering over the years and being put on medications. These medications that are highly addictive and have a tremendous amount of side effects. And I've always encouraged parents to, go the natural route. Yeah. And as a matter of fact, a few years ago when I was still practicing pharmacy full time, I made the conscious decision to stop dispensing those medications. The ones that what we call Adderall and Ritalin over here, they're very highly addictive amphetamines. And I read some reports and studies that came out on what problems they were causing in kids, and I said, I'm not dispensing these anymore. And so parents would come in with a prescription, and I would tell them, look, I'm sorry, I don't dispense these medications anymore, but here's what I do, and you've got the choice. You can take it somewhere else and get it filled, or if you'd like to learn more about the natural way to do things, I'll be happy to talk with you about that. So,
I applaud you. I really do. And it's quite astonishing to think that a route to actually resolution was considered to be an amphetamine. When you consider it. Now, finally, you refer to health as your wealth, and I'm all for investing in the stock of health personally. Where do people start to invest?
Well, people start investing in their health in lifestyle change is the first thing. If they're unhealthy and they need to make some changes, that's where they start in those lifestyle changes. But some people have to realize that they need to do that. And they need some type of motivation. And I talk to people about that a lot of times. What is it going to take? What can I do to convince you that you need to change? And I ask people to look around. look around at what's happening in their lives. And sometimes people just don't stop and take the time to think and be conscious of what's going on around them with their health, as well as the health of the people that they know and that they interact with, or family members or work with or whatever, on a regular basis. And I say, think about how many people you know that have recently died. How old were they? Were they younger than you? And I did nursing home consulting for several years. And I tell people, you need to go visit the nursing home. Nursing homes used to be for people that were considered elderly, but now there are people in the nursing homes in their 40s, 50s, because they've had a stroke, or they've got some kind of debilitating disease, or they've had amputations because they didn't take care of themselves. And I encourage people to do that and say, maybe this will be motivation for you, to want to make those changes that you need to make in your life.
I think it's a really interesting point, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because I am absolutely blessed that every single day I work with people who inspire and motivate me, and my clients show me what is possible, but also show me what is possible if I don't look after myself.
Yeah, and that's right. That's right. And I tell them, if you don't, you're gonna pay for it down the road. I have this saying that sometime, one day you're gonna look back and say, what the hell happened to my wealth? Because everything you've worked so hard to build up and save and spend for, and you get to that point of retirement, then if you haven't taken care of your health, if you haven't invested in your health, then you're going to end up spending that money trying to stay healthy. And you're not going to enjoy your life like you should. So whatever I can say, whatever I can do to try to motivate people to make that change, that's what I try to do.
I have to say, you're doing a lovely podcast, and which I've spent the last week listening to, and it's been really, really interesting to listen to you. So, Dr. Phil Carson, thank you very much for coming on Food for Thought. I very much appreciate it and your time. And tell people how they get in contact with you so they can go down the functional medicine approach.
Yeah, absolutely. I can be reached at from my website, carsonnatural.com.
Yep.
And they could also email me at phil@carsonnatural.com. I've got some free things on my website, and if they want to go there, they can get those. I've got a free guide, and I've got all kinds of information there as well about what we do and programs that we offer.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Debbie. I appreciate it. It's been an honor to be with you today.